Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Ben 10 Retrospectives on the right day this time. And today we're going to be talking about episode 11 of the original Ben 10 series, A Small Problem. And I stated last week that this was actually one of my favorite episodes, and watching it again, the thing that makes me like it is still very present, but I don't know if it's really something that big, but yeah, pretty much in this episode, Ben and Gwen start out going to a water park where there's just this giant slide, twists and turns. It's just fun it's just super fun. But Ben can't get on because he's like half an inch too short. So Ben, out of spite, decides to go alien. But the Omnitrix disc face whatever the Omnitrix disc doesn't go down, and when he smacks it, so he slams it into a bowl. It goes down, and he turns into gray matter, and Ben sneaks onto the ride as gray matter. But as he does, this weirdo named Hal Wainwright sees Ben, and after as presumably going down the slide himself, he grabs him and runs away. Max and Gwen follow after him, and it's pretty much it's obvious that something is wrong with the Omnitrix because of it not going down, and for some reason Ben is not transforming back as fast as he should be. So as such, Ben is stuck as gray matter while this man is contacting sorry. Well, the man, wanting to get rich and famous off of him, winds up contacting a group. A group that in this episode is known as the Organization, and in later episodes is known as the Forever Knights. And he asks their leader, Enoch, as we later learn his name is, again in another episode, if they'll be able to take the alien, or Ben, or in this case Ben. And so now, not only do Ben, it pretty much the whole episode is just Max and Gwen trying to find Ben, while Ben himself is trying to not only get out of the hands of Howl, but also the Organization. So, really, I think the only thing that I really like about this episode that I think is nice and appealing is just to kind of see Ben as gray matter. And it's not really something big in this case, but I do kind of like seeing it. Because pretty much in many episodes, we've usually seen Ben go onto all these other stronger, more powerful aliens. But gray matter, while we have seen him before, he's only really been useful in a fight. He's only really been useful once, and in that case, in other words, he's selectively useful. Like Ripjaw's only he can be used more often, but because of his size and stature, most of Ben's transformations into gray matter are accidental. But honestly, I kind of like seeing this because it does show more of gray matter's strengths in a way. Like Ben, of course, because of gray matter's size, is more subject to being captured or outnumbered or so forth. As Hal, not the only thing Hal has to do to catch Ben is just to grab him and run away. But in the first half of the episode, we see Ben using gray matter's abilities to his advantage. He acts smarter, and I've said that Ben can be creative with his abilities, and in this case, that creativity combined with gray matter's own natural abilities actually kind of winds up helping him. We see Ben acting smarter with gray matter. We see him thinking more strategically, and even the ultimate end of the episode actually has him using gray matter's abilities to take out the bad guy's stronghold. So, really, but I think what also makes it appealing but again, what makes that also appealing to me is just kind of seeing, for the first time, Ben is pretty much for pretty much the majority of this episode is in alien form, and this actually, and it's just kind of nice because it's kind of it's impeding Ben, not just because it's pretty much just a trapped episode. Like, I think like there's an episode where the hero gets shrunk. They're pretty much doing everything in their power to get unshrunk, but there's too many things getting in their way, and as such, it becomes a labor and chore to get it done, and that's kind of how it is with Ben. And while his goal is not to get unshrunk, because he knows that eventually he will turn back, it's mostly he wants to try and get away from the people that are capturing him, and because of his size and stature, it's just making it more difficult. And I do like those episodes because suddenly turns something so meaningful, something so normal like going up and going through your house into suddenly a chore, something that's something even more difficult to do. So I'm trying to think. Well, again, I just kind of like that. I just kind of like the episode for that. Strangely enough, though, there are still some good things. There are still many good things. There are still some good things in it. Again, because I do kind of like how they the introduction of the organization, or I'm just gonna call them Forever Knights because that's pretty much what they're called every time they're seen after this. I do kind of like the introduction of the Forever Knights because in this case they're actually pretty creepy. Like they all are wearing suits of armor like out of medieval times. They wear masks of different colors, gold, silver. They use high-tech versions of olden weapons like the guards of the the Forever Knight Stronghold. Sorry. Anyway, the guards of the Forever Knight Stronghold use spears that can shoot lasers. Hold on. Sorry. Dog. And they have a little storeroom full, and it's obvious that they are very experienced in alien tech, because when Max and Gwen track Ben and Hal to this castle to hide from the Knights, they stumble across a room that's just full of alien tech that the Forever Knights have acquired, and they know that they can't let them keep using this. And I don't really know what else to say about that. I do think they're just intimidating villains. Their leader Enoch is usually the face of them. He's intimidating. He demands power, and while he doesn't really do much in terms of action, he definitely kind of demands authority for himself. The way he stands, the way his voice, he's stoic and very much in charge, and pretty much just is. It's like one of his first lines is, he's not someone you want to annoy. So, and I think what also kind of feeds into this is that when Max and Gwen are trying to track Ben down, when they find the Forever Knight Stronghold, Max immediately knows what it is, which also kind of feeds into his overarching plot as obviously something of what he did before in his younger days. And it just can't. I think it's a nice little tidbit that helps add to the overall story of Ben 10. But I think, well, I don't really, in terms of problem, I think really in terms of problems like of this episode, I can't really think of many. I think like the only major problem is why the Omnitrix is malfunctioning, because throughout the series we've seen the Omnitrix act up and go nuts. Like, of course, there's the accidental transformations or so forth, or sometimes it doesn't even do anything. But I don't think we've ever seen it's never really acted like this before. We've never seen we've never seen the Omnitrix get stuck or have the timer get held off unless there was some reason for it. But in this episode, it's never really explained why the Omnitrix is acting up like this. Like, there's probably like one theory that Ben is thinking to himself as he's crawling through Hal's house. But I don't really know. But it's never really explained if it's fixed or not, because at the end of the episode, the Omnitrix, when Ben finally does transform back, the Omnitrix is still acting nuts. But we don't really, and they said they're going to get it fixed, but I don't really know how they're going to get it fixed, because it's an advanced piece of alien technology. And they must do something, because its problem never comes back up again. So I don't really know. Well, but overall, I think I do kind of like the episode, because I do sort of like the tension as Max and Gwen are trying to catch Ben, and bit by bit, and they usually just keep getting close, but then it's something keeps pulling him away. We do see the helplessness we see Gray Matter's strengths as well as this helplessness, and I do like the villains. I do like the villains and I do like the Forever Knights as the villains, because it's a nice introduction, and I do like the cliffhanger of seeing. I do like the cliffhanger that comes with them, because you as they as their because after their stronghold is destroyed, they want to find information on Ben, Gwen, and Max, and just because they think they're going to face them again. So on the whole, I think I still like this episode very much, but not as much as I did as I was a kid. I still think it's a strong episode. I still think it's very good, because just for the plot, the small plot, and the villains, and just sort of the tension. So yeah, on the whole, I think this episode's actually still very good. It's not as good as I remember it to be, but I still think it's actually rather well done. And I think another reason why I don't really think it's a hold up, it's not as strong as I remember it to be, is gray matter, because I think one of the things that helps the Ben 10 series is that there's not really much action in this episode. We do see some fighting but because of Gray Matter's small stature, you can't really get as creative with battles as such, and as such, it's really just outrunning and chasing. So, yeah, I think that's really just another big problem. It's just mostly tension and chasing. But again, I still think it's a good episode. Some plot, a couple plot, some plot, like a plot. The plot hole with the Omnitrix is not resolved, but it's not really a big deal. So, yeah, on the whole, I do think this is still a good episode, and I would still recommend watching it. So, yeah, tune in next week, where I will hopefully give you a more competent vlog, and we will talk about the 12th episode of the original Ben 10 series, Side Effects. So, again, thank you all for watching. This is Samuel Johnson, and I will see you next week. Take care.